Number 5 on this list is SCP-966. SCP-966 is a very disturbing type of creature that needs to be caught. The SCP Foundation describes them as predatory creatures that resemble hairless humans possessing an elongated face with a mouth lined with needle-like teeth. On each hand, they have 5 claws that can be up to 20 centimeters long. Although sharp, these are easily broken, making them unfit for combat. SCP-966's height ranges from 1.4 to 1.6 meters, and they can reach up to 30 kilograms in weight. Physically, SCP-966 are weak, possessing hollow bones and low muscular density. They do not seem to rest through sleep. Instead, they will suddenly cease all movement at seemingly random intervals of time, resuming normal activity 3 to 5 minutes later. Now, those creatures don't sound very appealing to me, and even though they have weak bones, they aren't something that I'd want to have a run-in with by myself. And my instincts hold true because humans are on the menu for SCP-966. The problem is the way that they hunt. Because they're so frail, a head-on attack isn't how they get their prey. They need to be a lot more stealthy. So what they do instead is emit a very high-pitched frequency that won't allow the individual hearing it to engage in any sleep at all. This applies to REM sleep all the way to microsleep. It's said that the range of this high-pitched frequency is 20 meters, and once you're hit with it, there's no going back. SCP-966 will then stalk you until your exhaustion incapacitates you to a point where it can safely attack and consume you. Along with exhaustion, this high-pitched frequency can also bring on vivid hallucinations and sharp changes in someone's temperament. So far, there's been no cure for being hit with this frequency, so even if you're capable of finding SCP-966 and killing it before you get too tired, you'll be doomed to live the rest of your life without sleep, which is effectively a death sentence anyways. Ever since this SCP has been discovered, the numbers have been thinned, but there's still many of them on the loose and at large. Number 4 on this list is SCP-3129. SCP-3129 is a very strange SCP that can't really ever be caught because it's just a phenomenon that occurs. That being said, we need to develop some way to either catch it or stop it from happening because it's very detrimental to our society. There are 3 stages to this SCP. The first stage, as described by the Foundation, is when phenomena invariably focus upon a human male aged somewhere between 40 and 50, hereafter designated SCP-3129-1. SCP-3129 transmissions can vary in presentation and length wildly, but invariably remain on the topic of SCP-3129-1's apparent election bid. No instances of SCP-3129 have been found outside of the continental United States or present in any non-English languages. So stage 1 is basically something that occurs on television and appears to those who are watching. Stage 2, as described by the Foundation, begins after 2 to 4 weeks of exposure to Stage 1 phenomena. Up to 8% of viewers will become fixated upon SCP-3129-1. Civilians more politically aligned with the ideas presented in SCP-3129 commercials are more susceptible to infection. SCP-3129 adverts have not shown any overall political bias. Class B amnestics are effective at treating Stage 2 infection. Now, the final stage that the Foundation describes is an infection displaying fanatical devotion to SCP-3129-1. They argue with open hostility against opposing viewpoints and ideologies. Stage 3 infected tend to seek out other infected in person and by way of online message boards and communities. This SCP isn't as dangerous as some of the others on this list to our health, but to our society, it's by far the most detrimental. Whatever or whoever SCP-3129 chooses to support, those who witness its occurrence will also feel extremely passionate about the same thing. It's effectively a brainwashing tool that no one is in control of. This SCP completely destroys any sense of democracy and takes away our human free will. I don't know how you could catch something like this, but finding a way to identify it when it happens and interfere with the broadcast, I mean, that's definitely something that we need to be looking into. Number 3 on this list is SCP-169. SCP-169 is one of the SCPs on this list that has the potential to kill millions if it's so desired. The Foundation describes this creature as a marine arthropod of enormous size known as the Leviathan by generations of sailors and oral history. Presumed at first to be a myth, SCP-169 was detected by Mobile Task Force Gamma-6 during an investigation of paranormal activity around the archipelago. During Y-6's investigation, a doctor whose name they don't reveal discovered the archipelago to have moved at least 3 kilometers from its original location. Though initially the doctor believed this motion to be due to unusually quick continental drift, a reconnaissance mission performed by the USS revealed the archipelago to be the protrusions of rock-like plates covering an enormous organic mass. The Foundation was brought in immediately to begin threat management. The Foundation goes on to say that they think this arthropod's size is somewhere between 2,000 to 8,000 kilometers long. The Foundation does not specify which archipelago they're talking about, but they do say that if this arthropod was to go deeper into the ocean or the earth, then all these islands would sink as well. The one positive thing about all of this is that the creature is thought to only breathe once every 3 months. This has led experts to believe that it's in a dormant state and it's not fully awake right now. If it did ever become fully awake and aware, then who knows what this creature is capable of doing. I live in Ontario, and the north to south distance of this province is 1,691 kilometers, meaning that this creature could be 2, 3, or even 4 times the size of Ontario. I doubt we'd ever be able to fully catch this beast based on how big it is, but some means of containment, I mean, that would definitely be nice. Number 2 on this list is SCP-3310. SCP-3310 is honestly not much to look at all. In fact, it's just a tree stump that's floating in a lake. But it's what that tree stump can cause that makes it so dangerous. The Foundation describes SCP-3310 as a 9-meter tall tree stump floating in Crater Lake. SCP-3310 is anomalously able to float upright with approximately 1.2 meters of the top remaining above the water at any given time. If removed from the water and returned, SCP-3310 will return to this position. SCP-3310 floats around Crater Lake as a result of non-anomalous weather patterns. The restriction of this movement causes 2 distinct and possibly linked anomalous phenomena referred to as SCP-33101 and SCP-33102. Previously, activation events were caused by the removal of SCP-3310 from Crater Lake, but recent activation events have occurred while SCP-3310 remained in Crater Lake. Both of these phenomena demanifest after the triggering cause for the manifestation is ended. Now, the first of these phenomena that the Foundation is referring to will cause a great fog to appear over the surrounding areas with torrential rainfalls. In some of the events that have happened, over 3 meters of water have rained down in a very short amount of time, causing massive flooding. The second phenomena has several unknown humanoid entities appear and flock to this tree stump. The entities change depending on the time this happens, and no one has any idea who or what they are. This is why this SCP needs to be stopped and captured. Floods aren't great, but we can deal with those. The entities and what they are capable of, though, is completely unknown to us. One time this happens, they may decide to attack us humans, and without any knowledge of their strength, we might not be able to stop them. For now, we can at least take comfort that we know where this SCP will be, but capturing and containing it should be at the forefront of the Foundation's mind. Number 1 on this list is SCP-973. SCP-973 is a very unique SCP that only manifests itself on a 60-kilometer stretch of highway, but it's certainly one of the deadliest that I've come across. The SCP Foundation describes this as being 2 entities. SCP-931 is a police cruiser resembling those used by state troopers in the early 1970s. The vehicle appears to be in an advanced state of disrepair. Eyewitnesses' accounts have consistently mentioned large dents in the doors and hood, a heavily cracked windshield, heavy rusting, and a loose rear bumper secured with duct tape. SCP-932 is reported as a Caucasian male in his late 40s wearing a state trooper uniform dating from the same time period as SCP-9731. Subject is described as balding, slightly overweight, and having a handlebar mustache. Now, nobody knows for sure how this SCP came to be. Some people speculate that this was an old police officer who died along this road and now haunts it. If that is the case, though, he was very serious about his job because he only shows up on this highway for a very specific event. It needs to be at night, it needs to be on this stretch of highway, and there needs to be somebody driving along that road who's going above the speed limit. If all of those things are met, then SCP-973 has the potential to materialize and will begin chasing down the person driving. While this is happening, the target's radio will simultaneously start malfunctioning and repeating over and over again, "Run." Over the years, 34 bodies have been found and 19 vehicles have been discovered. I would go into detail about how these bodies were discovered, but it's honestly so graphic that YouTube would definitely flag this video. There have only been 5 survivors and they've all had serious mental trauma from this experience. I'm not sure how you'd catch SCP-973, but something has to be done to stop these brutalistic deaths from continuing.
Starting off in our number 5 spot, we have SCP-342. The SCP-342 342 creature normally takes the form of a mass transit ticket for the closest form of mass transportation to its current location. Currently, this demonic creature takes the form of a train ticket departing from an unknown station. When held by a person for any length of time, it will eventually change form into a transit ticket for a form of transportation its holder desires to use. This transformation always takes place when not being directly or indirectly observed, and there are no recordings of SCP-342 changing form. SCP-342 can inhabit any form of transportation ticket without being detected. If SCP-342 is validated by stamp, has its ticket stub torn off, or is disposed of in any way, it will reform into an unused ticket after a short period of time. Anyone who uses SCP-342 to board a vehicle is unable to exit their mode of transportation by any means. Once the vehicle ends its route or stops moving, the user will disappear from this reality. Users report an overpowering feeling of dread prior to boarding, and the feeling increases during the course of the travel, and shortly before their disappearance, they go into a panic-induced terror. There are many terrifying things the holder of this demon can experience, like seeing increased darkness in the sky outside of the vehicle, hallucinations, or a fear of other drivers, conductors, or other transit staff. As well as feeling threatened by other people around them, occurrences completely preventing the rider from getting off of the vehicle at any time, and seeing passengers simply appear suddenly then quickly vanish from their seats. All of these experiences are said to be like having paranoid schizophrenia. The terrifying experiences are usually only felt by the user, but sometimes bystanders and workers of the transit vehicle can experience feelings of uneasiness and will be compelled to exit the vehicle early, seeking other means of transportation. In our number 4 spot today, we have SCP-087. SCP-087, or otherwise known as the stairwell, is, you guessed it, a stairwell, and when you look down, it's pitch black with an unknown ghost-like figure at the bottom. This photo of the ghost figure has only been captured once, and we still don't know if SCP-087 is one entity or a group. The stairs descend on a 38-degree angle for 13 steps before reaching a semicircular platform. The design of this staircase limits subjects to a visual range of approximately 1.5 flights. A light source is required for any subjects exploring this creature, as there are no lighting fixtures or windows present. Due to the darkness and design, the subject needs an extremely bright source of light to be able to see the bottom. It's been seen that lighting sources brighter than 75 watts have been shown ineffective because SCP-087 seems to be able to absorb excess light. Subjects who have explored this creature have gotten an audio recording of what seems to be a distressed vocalization from what is presumed to be a child, but its age is unknown. The source of the distress calls is estimated to be located around 200 meters below the initial platform. However, any attempts to descend the staircase have failed to bring subjects closer to the source. The depth is believed to be far beyond the possible structure of both the building and geological surroundings. At this point, it is unknown if SCP-087 has an endpoint. Many people who have tried to learn more about this creature have suddenly gone missing during their exploration. It is believed that whatever or whoever is beyond the platform has extreme powers and can quickly grab the subject they desire, with no one even noticing. Many believe that either below the platform or at the bottom of the stairs is the gateway to hell, or even SCP hell, where there are hundreds or thousands of SCP creatures that reside there. The mystery of these disappearances and the fact that we don't know much about this SCP-087 makes it even more terrifying. We don't know what it's truly capable of, or if they work alone, or if it's a group of creatures preying on humans. In our number 3 spot today, we have SCP-088. SCP-088 is a humanoid with reptile-like features which appears to be in a mummified form, but it's merely in a state of hibernation from which it may recover if it is exposed to a more hospitable environment than its current containment. Research has indicated that SCP-088 is approximately 6,000 years old and is capable of producing a variety of hazardous biological compounds from its mouth and hands. Some of these substances carcasses could be of great strategic value if replicated, but until a means to extract them without awakening SCP-088 is found, research is on hold. This demonic creature is currently sealed in its airtight case 24/7. The case is constructed of transparent acrylic plastic to resist the corrosive properties this creature possesses. This monster has been contained for more than 70 years and has only risen from its hibernation state twice. Each time personnel was exposed to the awoken demon, they experienced a painful mutation, after which they shared the physical characteristics of SCP-088. This creature also has demonstrated the ability to produce potent neurotoxins in liquid and gas form to combat containment personnel. SCP-088 was first recovered around the 1930s from a subterranean complex below Los Angeles, California. The site was originally discovered by a man known as GWS using a device he called a radio X-ray. After mapping a series of tunnels and gold deposits below the city, G declared that he found the lost city of lizard people as described in the legends of Arizona's Hopi tribe. The SCP-088 was recovered with the mummified remains of 23 other beings sharing a similar morphology. However, none of these beings found with this creature were alive, and examination suggests that they may have been originally human or possibly even half lizard, half man. Due to this creature being so dangerous to humans, it's been very hard for people to be able to research it or its origins, so many findings relating to the SCP-088 can't completely be confirmed and may never be due to the damage it can cause to humans. In our number 2 spot today we have SCP-173. Moving on to our next creature, we have SCP-173, the Sculpture. At a first glance at this creature, it may appear harmless or just a little creepy, but as it is a roughly humanoid concrete structure with stubby arms and legs with green and red facial features made from Cryon brand spray paint. But don't underestimate its abilities from its looks, as this scary creature is incredibly swift and is known to capture anyone as its victim. SCP-173 is considered a Euclid class SCP with Class 4 hazardous containment procedures, and the very first being captured by the SCP Foundation. It is the most well-known SCP of all time, rightfully so. The creature's origin is still unknown, but one thing is for sure is that it is very hostile towards any life form. There have been reports of sounds of scraping stones within their container when no one is inside. To prevent SCP-173 from escaping, it must be locked in its container at all times. When personnel enters SCP-173's container, a minimum of 3 must be locked inside the container with the creature. To stop any mishaps, 2 people must maintain direct eye contact with him at all times, and they need to notify each other when they are going to blink, as it is only able to move when no one is looking. And for that reason, you may not want to take your eyes off of this one, or you may be in deep trouble. In our number 1 spot today we have SCP-993. SCP-993 is also known as Bobble the Clown. This is a humanoid creature that directly resembles the appearance of a clown. Bobble is known for his cruelty and sadistic behavior hidden behind the cheerful and colorful face of a clown. It's the scariest thing in the world. Arguably one of the scariest SCP for the fact that his main objective is brainwashing children through a television show. Bobble performs illegal and immoral acts and takes joy from watching his victims suffer. Okay, creepy clown, don't invite him to your birthday party. Additionally, he takes delight in twisting and manipulating people through his television show. Bobble the Clown was first discovered by the Foundation after they found its show, where in every episode, Bobble would teach a new lesson to its viewers to do illegal acts and cause violence, while giving explicit step-by-step instructions on how to commit these crimes. These actions became ingrained into subjects' minds, making them obsessed to carry out the actions themselves. Additionally, repeated exposure to SCP-993's show will cause severe mental illness issues. Protocol for any SCP-993 broadcast is to be intercepted and blocked from public viewing, though episodes are regularly still getting broadcast from an unknown source. All broadcasts are to be recorded and stored for future viewing. While any subjects used to view SCP-993 must be given a Class A amnesiac after they have described the episode. With its short temper, Bobble the Clown can quickly lose his happy and cheerful mask and become incredibly sadistic, using his supernatural abilities to stalk and spy on enemies to find their weaknesses, making SCP-993 one of the scariest SCPs out there.
In at number 5 we have SCP-096, the Shy Guy. 096 is also known as the Shy Guy, but do not let his name fool you. His appearance alone can terrify even the toughest person. They are one of the most horrific SCP creatures of all. They are an emaciated, bone-white, hairless humanoid with long dangly arms and legs. This creature tends to be docile, but it has one trigger that makes them highly dangerous. Whenever someone looks directly at their face has blank eyes and a mouth that can stretch up to 5 times the normal size of a regular human. No matter how close you are to this creature, if you look at its face, even from a far distance or just for a second, it will go berserk. If this happens, it'll start to flail, cry and babble before chasing down the offender and violently attacking them. If 096 gets provoked and someone looks at their face, it will stop at nothing to take down their prey. There isn't an obstacle it cannot get past. It can smash through steel doors and walls, running endlessly across huge distances, and even able to swim to the very bottom of the ocean to pluck said offender and destroy them. The only ability it does not have is it isn't able to fly, but it uses its extremely long arms to run, similar to a gorilla that uses their arms along with their legs to walk, and they launch off the ground to gain air and distance for a quicker capture of their prey. If this destructive creature is able to get captured, they must have a bag put on their head to make everyone that is around them safe. But accidents happen, and they have happened. 096 is one of the most well-known, iconic and recognizable SCPs of all time. In at number 4 we have SCP-939 with many voices. 939 is known as With Many Voices, and they are a species of bright red amphibian predators, each one as big as an adult man, and they weigh over 400 pounds. They don't appear to have many vital organs, lacking a nervous system, heart or digestive tract, and their elongated heads have no eyes and a large set of glowing dagger-like red teeth. They are terrifying to look at, but also can cause mass destruction. Despite being literally brainless, they are smart due to the way they hunt their prey. They have the ability to imitate the voices of prior victims, usually repeating urgent phrases to lure a good Samaritan to come to their aid and then attack them with their deadly bite. They also exhale an amnesia-inducing chemical, so if anybody is lucky enough to escape being killed and eaten, there is a good chance they won't remember what just happened, and could possibly get fooled by the creature's tricks again. If you ever hear mysterious calls for help, make sure it's not 939 or you will be devoured by this giant red amphibian. They also like to travel in packs, which is even more terrifying, and once they lay eyes on their prey, 939s are persistent and will continue to pursue said prey until they capture them. This monster is believed by many SCP fans to be a version of the devil due to tricking humans into thinking they're innocent, taking advantage of their vulnerability, and ultimately leading to that person's demise. Using their massive mouth and sharp teeth to instantly kill their prey, 939 loves to prey on humans due to the fact that they can trick them so easily, and they can take advantage of people's kindness to lure them in. In at number 3 we have SCP-106, the Old Man. 106, or otherwise known as the Old Man, is a terrifying looking elderly humanoid. Do not let his older appearance fool you, he is deadly. This creature has the general appearance of a human but looks like a rotting or decaying corpse. It is not too agile and can remain motionless for days at a time, waiting for his prey to come to him. This creature is capable of scaling any vertical surface and can remain suspended upside down indefinitely. When 106 will attempt to incapacitate their prey by damaging major organs, muscle groups or tendons, they then pull prey into its pocket dimension. They prefer human prey from 10 to 25 years old, but if they haven't had prey for a while, they will take anyone or any living thing. This creature is very smart and has many abilities, making it hard to capture. They are able to cause corrosion effect in all solid matter it touches, engaging a physical breakdown in materials several seconds after contact. This is observed as rusting, rotting and cracking of materials materials and the creation of a black mucus-like substance similar to the material that coats 106. It is also capable of passing through solid matter, leaving behind a large patch of its corrosive mucus. This demonic monster remains in a maximum secure area. No physical interaction with 106 is allowed at any time. All staff must stay away, and they need to always stay at least 6 meters away from the cell, except in the event of a security breach. He resides in a sealed container comprised of a lead-lined steel, and it is sealed within 40 layers of identical material. The cell is also suspended in the air so that this creature can never be able to escape. Any object or material lost to SCP-106 is deemed missing, and no recovery attempts are to be made under any circumstances. If this creature escapes, it could be detrimental. In at number 2 we have SCP-049, the Plague Doctor. 049, otherwise known as the Plague Doctor, is popular among SCP fans. At first glance, it's not the most terrifying creature out there. It's dressed like a man who is dressed in a black hooded robe and a silvery ceramic mask with long bird-like nose. It has since been found out that this attire is an extension of his body, being fused permanently and organically to his flesh. It is a humanoid entity around 6 feet tall and resembles the appearance of a medieval plague doctor. This creature's intent is ridding the world of the disease, which has yet to be elaborated on, so no one really knows what his true motive is. He selectively chooses which patients he wants to operate on, and his mysteriousness makes him even more terrifying. His touch is fatal, and when he has a cadaver to work on, he cuts them open with no medicine and makes them watch while he performs on them with a strange set of medical tools and serums. Once the operation is complete to the Plague Doctor's standards, the patients are never the same again, and they lack any higher brain power function, so they tend to roam around in a zombie-like state. 049 goes from patient to patient because that is what they enjoy and what motivates them, so they try and find the right match quickly. If they go too long without finding a victim, they grow impatient and go completely nuts, ultimately tearing their targets apart in anger. This demonic creature is smart enough to speak but usually chooses not to. He is silent but deadly. When he does choose to speak, he rarely deviates from the subject of curing the pestilence. Under no circumstance should you ever come in contact with this creature due to his unpredictability and sudden burst of rage. You never know what it will be like, and it could be deadly for you. The Plague Doctor is the stuff of nightmares and horror movies, and you should avoid it at all costs. And finally, in at number 1 we have SCP-682, the Hard to Destroy Reptile. One of the scariest and most well-known SCP creatures is the Hard to Destroy Reptile. It is a massive cold-blooded quadruped with more intelligence than a human. Despite being highly intelligent, he is also extremely dangerous and hateful towards pretty much every living thing. This demonic creature enjoys showing humans and other life forms his distaste for them by ripping them to pieces. It also has massive strength, speed, reflexes, and can regenerate flesh at a rapid pace, and is able to adapt to hostile environments in the blink of an eye. Other abilities this creature possesses is it can bring itself back from the dead. Many have attempted with everything from bullets to acid and fire to even nuclear bombs, but nothing can destroy this beast. Not even other SCP creatures are able to destroy this monster. It can also evolve and change its body when needed. It can consume organic or inorganic materials to provide for the necessary mass, and it has been known to grow additional organs. This creature was discovered by the Foundation after it killed a few farmers on the grounds of being disgusted. If you try and destroy him or get your revenge on this creature, good luck, because it is damn near impossible, hence its nickname, the Hard to Destroy Reptile. It could appear as though you did destroy it, but that is exactly what they want you to think. They will appear dead at first, but then quickly adapt and find a counter to said opponent, returning to life with even more abilities than before. One example was that the beast was launched into the sun. It returned a few days later as a winged fire creature, which caused massive devastation when it landed back on Earth. The creature is one of the most dangerous creatures in possession by the Foundation for all its abilities and its hatred for all life.